Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are. My name is Ksenia and I make videos for people who, like myself, are going through the family-based immigration process. I'm not an immigration attorney and I cannot give you any legal advice. My videos are based on my personal experience, the experience of my subscribers, and publicly available information. The purpose of my channel is to give you guys the confidence to go through this process completely on your own. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Affidavit of Support once again, specifically the Affidavit of Support for self-employed sponsors and sponsors who are business owners. This information will apply to you if you are the petitioning sponsor or a joint sponsor. So before I begin, I really want to emphasize the fact that I am not an attorney or a paralegal, and you should use this video purely for informational purposes. If you have received a request for evidence related to the Affidavit of Support, I highly suggest that you check out my videos. However, I also recommend that you schedule a consultation with an immigration attorney who can look over your file and your evidence before you submit your response to the USCIS request for evidence. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. USCIS does not like business owners. It may sound harsh, but in reality, the practices that USCIS have been employing when reviewing files of self-employed petitioners or self-employed sponsors has shown us that they really struggle with approving your files, your financial information, your affidavit of support when you are self-employed or when you own a business. If you are familiar with the affidavit of support already, you know that one of the most important pieces of information that they look for is your U.S. tax returns. A sponsor is required to submit the most recent year's tax returns to prove their income and to prove their eligibility to sponsor intending immigrants. USCIS will look at the total income line on your most recent year's tax returns to determine if you qualify. In addition, if you as the sponsor are providing income tax returns, you should also be supplementing them with copies of W-2s. USCIS does prefer that you submit taxes from the most recent 3 years as opposed to just the most recent tax year. Although it's not a requirement, it does demonstrate the sponsor's ability to maintain consistent income. If you are self-employed as an independent contractor, for example, if you are an Uber driver or Instacart delivery person, you may easily avoid getting a request for evidence by supplementing your tax returns with copies of your 1099s as well as your pay stubs, Schedule C, and an employment verification letter. For business owners, however, the story is a little bit more complicated. So let's discuss what kind of evidence you absolutely must provide to USCIS as a business owner. First of all, USCIS does want to see your tax returns. And because most business owners will not really have a total income line on their tax returns due to the nature of their employment, USCIS will want to look at your net income. So the income after all deductions. It can also be found on your Schedule C line 31. USCIS expects you to provide total and complete tax returns and include all related tax documents such as Schedule C, Schedule D, Schedule E, whichever one you have, or if you have a Schedule 1, 2, 3. So they want to see all of those related tax documents. And keep in mind that especially when you are a business owner, you want to provide all 3 most recent years' tax returns. And in the case of business owners, it also might be best to obtain IRS transcripts as opposed to providing them copies from your own records. And a lot of people do ask, can I just include the Schedule C or can I just include the first page? Absolutely not. You want to include the entire tax returns. Even if it's 30, 50 pages, you want to provide it all. So the next piece of evidence that USCIS looks for is a copy of your business license and business registration. They also want to see any related paperwork that can state the nature and the category of your business. So this may include articles of formation, articles of incorporation, DBA paperwork, etc. The next piece of evidence that USCIS will look for is a dated and signed and preferably notarized statement. This letter should come from a third party, so somebody other than you or other people involved in the business, and usually a letter like this can be provided by a CPA, which is the Certified Public Accountant. So in that letter, you really want to include as much detail as possible, such as the name of your business, the nature and category of your business, the involvement of the sponsor in question, such as, for example, are you the CEO? Are you a chief executive? Whatever it may be. This letter should also summarize all related revenues, losses, and profits. If you use any kind of accountant software, such as QuickBooks, for example, you want to print out a statement, for example, an annual or year-to-date report of profits, losses. Next, the sponsor must also include at least 6 to 12 months of bank statements, both from the business account and as well as your personal account. These statements must prove a stable flow of income. Next, if your business has ever filed for a tax extension, for example, you may want to provide this extension letter and also explain the reason behind needing this tax extension. However, that is another point that I frequently see in a lot of cases. If a sponsor or a business ever files for tax extensions, USCIS will not be very happy with that, and they will almost automatically issue you a request for evidence, asking for you to provide either further proof of this income or finding a different sponsor. Finally, you want to make sure that all of this evidence is properly organized. As you can imagine, all of this evidence is going to amount to a fairly hefty file. You want to include a beautifully written cover letter that will explain every single piece of evidence and how it relates to this case. Remember that a person reviewing your file most likely is not going to be an accountant or a tax expert. So you want to make sure that whoever looks at your file can really understand what each piece of this evidence actually means. So that was basically it in terms of the evidence that USCIS wants to see for self-employed sponsors and business owners. So just a quick note, when you're looking for a sponsor to help you out with your green card application and the affidavit of support, it may be very tempting to pick somebody who is a business owner. Because after all, it may seem like owning a business will automatically make somebody a qualified sponsor due to the amount of money that usually flows through a business. However, you need to remember that the income and the revenues of the business do not equal net income of the sponsor themselves. And I have seen in quite a few cases sponsors who are business owners and the business seems to be doing well. However, they show on the tax returns that the business actually went in the negative on the net income, and that will basically disqualify you from being a sponsor. And even if you try to provide as much evidence as possible, there's a very high chance that USCIS will not like it. It may be tempting to see that your business shows a great revenue. However, revenue is just the total amount of income generated by a business before any kind of deductions or expenses. USCIS wants to see your ability to sponsor somebody after all of those deductions and expenses have been considered. So my word of advice, first of all, if I was in your situation, I would actually look for a sponsor who is a W-2 regular employee, because in that case, it's going to be much easier to provide proof of income. However, if you really don't have any other choice, you definitely should try to collect all of this evidence to your best ability and schedule a consultation with an experienced immigration attorney who can look over your file and help you get it all together and send it off to USCIS. And just to make a disclaimer once again, I'm not going to be answering any questions related to business ownership and sponsorship for the purposes of the affidavit of support, simply because I am not qualified to do so, and also because honestly I don't understand those documents, and it's very difficult to actually be able to look through something like this and make sure that all the evidence is there. So I hope that you found this video somewhat useful. Please give this video a thumbs up so more people can see it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I hope to see you in my next videos. Bye!